prince has been riding and walking all day. He's very, very tired. He's arriving back home at his castle, and it's storming terribly. The rain, the lightning, the thunder. He looks down, and even his shadow is terrifying. He leaves his horse with a groom and decides to walk along the water, and his riding crop taps something, and it's a little ring. He puts the little ring in his pocket. He thinks later, I'll ask about that. It's somebody's here. So after supper that night, he asks the ladies, has anyone missed a ring? They look at their costly rings with very large stones, and they say, no, none are missing. And why? And he says, oh, I found this. Oh, and they were like, that's a trinket. That's not like our rings. And the ring was practically disguised. He put the ring away, and when he went to bed that night in his chamber, he set the ring on the table next to his bed. And when he snuffed the candle out, the ring danced, and he could hear it tinkling. And then he lit the candle, and the ring stayed still. And he did that a couple of times and decided, oh, I got to put this ring in the drawer, which he did. And the next night, the same thing happened, except this time the ring not only danced on the table, but danced on his forehead and his lips. He decided he was going to put the ring in the drawer, and he was going to go find its owner tomorrow. So early in the morning, he got the ring and put it in his pocket on a little chain, and he left. And after he had been riding for a while, he came upon a castle, and there was a princess gazing out. And the princess called for him, brought him in, and had supper with him, offered a night to stay. And at the end of supper, the prince said, did you lose any ring? Did you lose any jewelry? And she said, no, I don't pick my own flowers, and I don't wear my rings when I'm swimming in the lake. So in the morning he left early, and he came upon hours later, an old woman walking bent, and as if she was looking for something, and she's so sorrowful and grievously sorrowful. And he said, ma'am, what are you looking for? She said, I've lost my ring. And he thought, oh, maybe. So he said, is this your ring? Oh, and she said, no, mine was costly. She said, I was going to sell it. It's worth money. You see, I lost my husband, and I lost my estate, and then I lost my fortune, and all I had left was the ring, and I was going to take the ring and sell it and live for a while before begging. He poured out his gold coins into her hands and arms and left before she could say thank you. And he rode for days now, and he came upon a big blue mountain, and the blue mountain was steep. He wanted to cross the river and did, water splashing over his head. He crossed the mountain and realized the mountain's too steep for the horse, and so he left the horse to graze. And he laboriously climbed up that mountain. A lot of work. And after a while, he heard water, and then he saw the water coming from where the rocks were. And then he saw a girl, and the girl, she looks up and she's surprised, and then she lowers her head. He's thirsty. He says, miss, will you give me a drink? She says, but I don't have any. Here, yes. And she takes her hands, and her voice is like music. She takes her hands and fills the cup, and he drinks. And the second time she does this, the ring pops out of his pocket. She snatches it and says, my ring, where did you get my ring? And he tells her. And he says, why is that important? And she said, well, my mom gave me the ring the night she died, the day she died. And then my dad got killed when they took over our castle, and they locked me in the top of a tower and took very, very good care of me. And then one day, he came in and said, you'll be married in 3 months to my son. And she knew that man, the drunkard that he was, and said, I'd like to create a rope for a gift for my husband. My new husband can tie his boat to the shore with this. And so she got the very best hemp, and she made a wonderful rope, which she used to escape the night before her wedding day. And she ran and ran and ran and ran and ran because she would rather die than marry this man. She was exhausted, fell exhausted asleep under a bush, and slept until she felt grass being flipped across her face. And she looked up, and there was the mountain troll The mountain troll is laughing and saying, "Ha ha, now you can clean my cave, you can fetch my water, you can cook my food." And so he took her. And she did all that for about 3 years. And every now and then he would say, "When you get a little fatter, I'm going to eat you for Christmas." And so the prince said, "Oh no." About that time, they heard thunder. But instead of thunder, it was the mountain troll. And he was coming. And she said, "Let's go. We've got to run." And they run down the mountain the best they could, scrambling, got on the horse, went across the river, and ran on the horse all the way for days and days. And the horse never got tired, and the horse never got thirsty. And they made it to the castle. And she peeked out from under the cloak he had her wrapped in, and she saw the shadow, and she said, "It looks like we are one." And that's the end of the ring.